Overwatch's annual April Fool's mode is here, and it's looking pretty insane. Let's have a look. Silliness is afoot. This week, the April Fool's event is starting at Overwatch, and I'm most likely posting this video as soon as it goes live, but there is a small chance that I'm posting this a little sooner, who knows? So don't panic just yet if you can't see it in game, okay? In any case, the April Fool's event is a very popular event in the Overwatch community. Although some people seem to dread the googly eyes that they stick on everything. I'm not sure why. Is there like a phobia for googly eyes? Is that a thing? And what is the name? I'm very curious. Others are not a fan of the yelling Reinhardt or the new ultimate voice lines. I myself enjoyed the heck out of all of it. I find it to be a very funny and entertaining event. And I know a lot of the player base agrees with me. But what all of us enjoyed the most about this event is the crazy limited time game mode that comes with it. In that game mode, Team 4 just drops all of the rules, all of the principles, and they just introduced this insane balancing patch that has you screaming in joy or wallowing in misery, depending on who you're playing. The fun thing is that sometimes some of these changes they do tend to stick around in some way. And that usually is in perks and more often in Stadium, because they also have their wacky rules sometimes. But I'll make a separate video on which of these might be viable for Stadium, perks, or even the core kit next week. So make sure to subscribe. Now, for this video, I want to show you what you guys can expect for Underwatch, which is the name of the game mode this time around. We're going to start out with the tanks. D.Va, Micro Missiles, now fires 2 giant slow-moving missiles that explode in a bigger area. Oh god. Domina, Barrier Array, will randomly select one of many predetermined barrier area configurations. The barrier panel health is increased by 50, and the cooldown is reduced to 7 seconds. So what we're basically going to get is all these kinds of constructions. Instead of having this arc, it is going to look different every single time, and every single panel is getting a health buff on top of the cooldown being reduced. So yeah, it is slowly going to start looking like Fortnite. That's what I'm thinking. Doomfist. Doomfist can see all of active Talon members through walls. Doomfist deals and receives 50% more damage from these active Talon members. Active Talon members are Vendetta, Emre, Sigma, Moria, Moga, and Freya. So it seems that he is taking that punching through the window a little personal. Understandable. I love how Freya is getting roped into this. Oh boy. But that's not all. His rocket punch is also getting a change. Charge can be held indefinitely, and the movement speed is no longer reduced when charge is held for long enough. I think they did this before. I'm pretty sure that the fact that you could hold your charge is something that we've seen him do before. Hazard. Jagged Wall no longer fires a wall spawning projectile. Instead, Hazard enhances himself for 5 seconds, greatly increasing his attack speed, reload speed, movement speed, cooldown speed, and jump speed. The cooldown was reduced to 8 seconds. So yeah, I'm not going to be mourning the loss of the Jagged Wall. I don't play Hazard. I'm usually on the receiving end, so that's why. But that looks interesting. He can basically Hulk himself, buff himself for a short time. That is going to be fun. Now, the Junker Queen is something completely different. Scattergun now shoots 7 knives instead of bullets. What? And Jagged Blade now throws a regular shotgun instead of a knife. When impaling an enemy, the shotgun fires at the enemy. After recalling, the shotgun fires at your crosshair when caught by the Junker Queen. Excuse me, how do you make that work? So you're going to be shooting knives, which sounds fun, but then you're going to throw your shotgun, and as you pull it back, it is going to shoot wherever you're aiming? How do you deal with that? Moga, Overrun. Overrun can now last forever. Using Overrun for too long lights Moga on fire. While on fire from Overrun, colliding with enemies lights them on fire. And then Cardiac Overdrive now makes Moga's chain guns shoot blobs of lava, which explode and instantly ignite enemies. He's going to die fast. Clearly, because his self-heal is out of the door and he basically sets himself on fire. You are burning much like when you get dynamite thrown at you, or basically what he does to the others. But the thing is, anybody that he hits is going to be set on fire. It's kind of like what they did with the Reinhardt, the indefinite charge, not too long ago. That was funny. There were some amazingly funny clips. So yeah, this is just one-upping that whole Reinhardt thing. That is going to get interesting. The next tank is Mei. Mei was moved to the tank role and the Bruiser's sub role. No longer has the specialist sub role passive. Her shields were increased from 0 to 200, and Mei's scale has been increased by 25%. And her Ice Wall scale has also been increased by 25%. There we go. Tank Mei. I mean, this has been discussed many a times that she would be a good tank. I use her as an off tank in 5v5. Let's see. Orisa, Energy Javelin. Now launches Orisa in the direction the javelin is thrown. So we got a grapple hook flying Orisa. Okay. Terra Surge. While charging Terra Surge, Orisa ascends into the sky and can move around. Upon unleashing Terra Surge, Orisa slams down on the ground below her, triggering its damage on impact. No longer grants overhealth, and the maximum damage was reduced to 400. So she can basically helicopter up and then follow you and slam down on top of you. The horsey just got a little scarier. I'm not against this. Ramatra. His health was increased from 425 to 500. His armor was increased from 100 to 500. But Ramatra is now permanently anti-heal. Ravenous Vortex now heals Ramatra for 250% of the damage dealt. And it is bypassing the anti-heal. Annihilation now heals Ramatra for 100% of the damage dealt. Again bypassing the anti-heal. And it applies anti-heal to all of the enemies. So Ramatra is just all by himself. That's it. It's Solitude Solo Ramatra. He's not going to get heals from his supports because he is constantly anti-healed. So he'll have to take care of himself. But he can do so in a very spectacular way. Reinhardt. His charge can now pin multiple enemies at once. Holding forwards or backwards speeds up or slows down the charge speed. Charge duration was increased from 3 seconds to 10 seconds. So yeah, they're not doing the indefinite charge. They're doing something a little different, giving you a little more control basically over a charge and allowing you to pick up multiple targets. And since it lasts for 10 seconds, you can slow it down, speed it up. You're going to grab yourself a little bundle of enemies at some point. Roadhog. The chain hook no longer pulls enemies. Now it slows, hacks, anti-heals, burns, and reveals the hooked enemies for 3 seconds. The cooldown was reduced from 6 to 4.5 seconds. Okay. Instead of kind of hooking them, that rusty chain is just going to poison them, basically. That makes sense. I'm going to be honest. It is going to be a major adjustment for Roadhog players that they can't hook anybody. Sigma. Accretion now fires a shotgun volley of small rockets. Has 2 charges. Yeah, I don't know what to think about that. Winston. Winston has been disabled. Seriously, you cannot play as Winston. Now, the developer comment says, Winston is currently unavailable due to a special reunion on Horizon Lunar Colony. Yeah, I don't know. Wrecking Ball. Roll greatly increases Wrecking Ball's size, and Wrecking Ball is unstoppable and takes 30% reduced damage during roll, but moves significantly slower. Grappling Claw. Retracting the Grappling Claw now launches Wrecking Ball into the direction that he is moving. Yeah, that grappling kind of thing, they did that before. They actually did it as part of his core kit, if I'm not mistaken. The whole roll change? Oh. I mean, that's what he does, right? He rolls really fast. He's almost ungrabbable. He's just very annoying. We'll see how that makes a difference. And then Zaya, the particle cannon. Secondary fire now blows explosive bubble. Of all characters to have blow bubbles, Zaya. That should be fun. And moving over to damage, Anran. Fan the flames. While airborne, Anran's secondary fire will push her backwards in the direction she is aiming. And Vermilion Revival. Anran can move around while dead before triggering Vermilion Revival. So she's going to fan herself and kind of use it to fly, and while she's dead, that little phoenix that she has is going to be able to move around and set people ablaze that way. Ash. If Ash shoots an airborne dynamite, a new dynamite will be launched upwards from the explosion. Okay. I mean, is that because it's useful for flying targets then? Bastion. Configuration Assault. Now shoots large wind blasts with limited range, knocking back enemies. Bastion now moves faster while in configuration instead of moving slower. He shoots what? Wind blasts? With limited... What? It basically becomes a fart cannon? Is that... I'm confused. Cassidy. Cassidy fires a piercing bullet that inflicts bleeding whenever he says hello. Howdy. Oh, that is a genius idea. Whoever thought of that one needs to get a raise, because that is genius. Howdy. I wonder if that has a cooldown. Anyways, Echo. Tri-shot. Each successful shot increases the number of projectiles fired, creating a new shape for each volley. And then Flight. Canceling Flight launches Echo in the direction that she's moving. Sticky bombs now bounce off the environment up to 3 times before sticking. The whole tri-shot, you're basically going to get a different shape, and then until your ammo runs out. The flight change is something they did before, and the sticky bombs, I don't know how to feel about that. They're going to bounce up to 3 times off the walls, basically making them into Junkrat bombs. That's it. Junkrat grenades. And they're still sticky, so good luck. Emre. Emre's jump height has increased. Emre's gravity has decreased. His cyberfrag projectile physics have been changed. Now sticks to enemies, dealing more damage when stuck. Siphon Pistol, the projectile speed was increased, can now headshot, the lifesteal was removed, and it no longer changes Emre's jump behavior. And then Quick Melee now deals 60 damage. It will also lunge at nearby enemies. It deals critical damage when hitting enemies in the back. Oh my god. Override Protocol, ultimate cost has been reduced by 50%. Now only fires 2 heavy rounds, and the rate of fire has been increased, but it no longer grants flight. Whoa, that is a huge list. First off, his jump height being increased and the gravity being decreased, he's just going to be jumping a lot. Standard. I mean, he might not be flying during his ult anymore, and he might lose the jumps during when he pulls his pistol, the siphon pistol, but he's going to be jumping all the time, so that negates all that. Now, the grenade, the projectile physics have been changed. It's hard to kind of think what they might have done, but if they're going to be sticking to people, they're going to do a lot more damage, and that is interesting because sometimes they stick to other stuff, and that is annoying. That's why I don't take that perk anymore. The most interesting thing, however, is the melee. If you walk up to someone close, hit him in the face, you're going to do 60 damage. That is going to obliterate anybody that you took a shot at already. On top of that, it will move you forward because you're going to be lunging at them. That is a mobility thing. And if they have their back turned on you, they're going to get a critical hit. Good God. Now, his ultimate kind of keeping them on the ground, we'll see how that turns out. Because it is very difficult to kind of have that big splash damage hit enough targets when you're not up in the air. On the other hand, it also makes you very vulnerable. So we'll see. Freya. Freya's regular movement is 70% slower. Freya's cooldowns are accelerated by 300% while on the ground. 70% slower? Is she going on a level of, what the hell? Is that playable? Genji. This one is interesting. Dragonblade moved his ultimate to this weapon. The damage was reduced from 110 to 65. Energy Slash is now a new ability. When activated, Genji's Dragonblade will fire large energy projectiles with each slash for a short duration. Only usable with Dragon Blades equipped and has an 8-second cooldown. Now Shuriken was moved from his weapon to his ultimate. Shuriken projectile speed is tripled. The primary fire now continues firing when held down. The secondary fire now fires 9 projectiles at a fast rate and in a wider arc. And the ultimate duration is increased to 8 seconds. So they basically made a Vendetta-style Genji. That's what they did, including the projecting of the blade and whatnot. So yeah, I'm very much looking forward to giving this a try, although I never play Genji. Hanzo, Random Arrow. It replaces the Sonic Arrow. It has a 6-second cooldown and readies one of many possible arrows at random into Hanzo's bow, which can be seen before firing. I'm not sure, but I remember that they did this in a very early April Fool's event. And anytime you take that ability, there's going to be a random arrow in there. It can be an explosive arrow, can be a scatter arrow, can be anything. I'm pretty sure there's going to be some silly ones in there too. I mean, it's April Fool's. Junkrat. The maximum number of active steel traps has been increased from 1 to 3. No longer has a cooldown and instead costs 50 scrap to place. Heroes drop 25 scrap upon death, which Junkrat can pick up. This is basically what the original Torbjorn used to do. Back when the game launched, he had to pick up scraps and he made those into health packs. And Junkrat is going to pick up those same scraps and basically turn them into traps. That is kind of an interesting idea. Fire. Hoverjets were removed. Rocket launcher has increased self-knockback. The more Fire knocks herself back with her rocket launcher, the faster she moves. But luckily, it does no longer deal damage to Fire. Wait, her hoverjets, so she can just fly up, that's it, and come down. There's no way that she's going to stay up. Yeah, I need to give this a try before I can make a judgment. Reaper. Shadow Step. During Shadow Step, Reaper has 6 seconds to choose if he wants to teleport there or retreat back to his original position. If he retreats, Shadow Step's cooldown is reduced to 5 seconds. Sojourn. While at 100 energy, Sojourn's abilities consume 50 energy to become energized. Energized's power slide moves 100% faster and trips enemies Sojourn collides with. The energized disruptor shot leaves behind 2 smaller energy bursts as it travels. The smaller energy bursts have a 2-meter radius and deal 60 damage per second. So as long as you're at 100%, you're going to have the option, or at least it is going to happen automatically, I presume. Anytime you use an ability, it's going to take 50 of that energy and make your ability stronger. So the power slide or the disruptor shot. Soldier 76. Biotic field. Soldier 76 can deal massive damage to enemies if he places Biotic field on them. Sprint. Final blows increase Soldier 76 sprint bonus speed by 25% up to 75% extra. The bonus is lost on death. Alright, so anytime Soldier kills someone, he's going to run faster, and that is going to stick around until he dies. 75% faster is a lot faster. Sombra. Oh, there we go. Disguise. Replaces Translocator. Transforms Sombra into a random object. Sombra can still move while disguised. Doing any action, however, removes Sombra's disguise. So Sombra basically plays little prop hunt in this case. I think this is going to be fun to see in this mode, but it would not work in the game. It's just too gimmicky and too random. Anyways, Symmetra. Sentry turrets now automatically deploy around Symmetra and follow her around wherever she goes. The number of charges increased from 3 to 4, and the cooldown reduced to 7.5 seconds. The damage on the turrets, however, was reduced from 30 to 15. Yeah, that makes sense that the turrets do less damage because they're basically going to be following her around, just shooting at things, still in the same way that they do right now. There's going to be 4 of them, so yeah, that is going to be mayhem. She's just going to become this little disco ball that is just going to hit people wherever she walks. Good luck. Torbjorn. A second Torbjorn is on top of Torbjorn, mimicking all of his actions. Yeah, that's kind of like I predicted. He's just going to put an extra one on top of there, and everything that you do, he's going to do. It's going to be funny. Tracer. The distance for Blink was increased to 100 meters. 100 meters? What? How do you use Blink at that point? Is it like bang, standing against the wall? Oh my god. Yeah, Tracer's not going to be played a lot, I think. Vendetta. Vendetta's camera is always third person, with her aim being totally separate from the players. Vendetta will automatically lock onto nearby enemies, facing them no matter how the player moves. Press interact to lock onto the nearest enemy your crosshair is aiming at. Palpatine Fang, the overhead damage reduced by 40%. What? Auto aim Vendetta in third person. Alright, I want to give this a try. I just want to try it. I think it's going to be very OP, even if the overhead is nerfed. Come on. Venture. Burrow. When emerging from burrow, a random pickup is also dug out of the ground. The pickup can be collected by any ally. Oh, that is kind of a neat idea. That would actually make a very good perk. I don't want to get ahead of my video for next week, but that would be a really cool perk if it gave you a little ult charge, give you a little health. I don't know. That would be cool. That would be kind of fun when they add them to Stadium. Widowmaker. Take aim now can charge up to 150%. And when charging above 100%, the charge rate is 80% slower, and the scope zoom is even further. Yeah, if you have that muscle memory, if you kind of have the habit of playing Widow, this is going to throw you off a little bit. But for people like myself who never play Widow, this could actually be fun. Yeah, I'm definitely going to give it a try. Let's move over to supports. We're starting out with Ana. Sleep Dart now puts Ana to sleep for up to 3 seconds. When waking up, Ana will nano boost herself. The nano boost duration will scale based on how long she was asleep. So, in other words, you're going to go out for 3 seconds at max, and then as you wake up, you're going to be nanoed and wreak havoc. I mean, if you plan this well, this could be very strong. Baptiste Exo Boots now charges up to 4 air dashes. Air dashes are used by jumping in midair, launching Baptiste horizontally in the direction that he's moving. Air dash charges do not decay over time. Alright, that is a whole bunch of horizontal movement to his kit. Should actually be very interesting to see. Brigitte, Shield Bash. After Shield Bashing, Brigitte begins surfing on another shield for 3 seconds, increasing her movement speed and jumping height. Oh boy. Shield Dash's cooldown begins once the shield surfing ends. The cooldown was reduced to 3 seconds. Yari, her healing pylon, no longer passively heals nearby allies. Shooting the pylon with solar rifle primary fire reflects the projectile to all enemies in range. Solar rifle secondary fire can heal the pylon. Shooting the pylon with solar rifle secondary fire reflects the beam to all damaged allies in range. Now, the build time was reduced to 0.5 seconds, and the Yari can throw the pylon way further. The cooldown is always 7 seconds. That is an interesting idea. It is going to be very difficult because you need to hit that little pylon, you need to be up close. You can throw it as far as you want, but you still need to hit it. So if you have good aim and you can hit it above a whole team that is quite a long way away, you're going to do a lot of damage on that team. It kind of reminds me of Moon Knight in Marvel Rivals. Thing is, of course, you also need to use that for healing with the secondary fire, hitting that thing. I think the range is going to come into play. So I don't know. Very curious to see this. I definitely think it's going to have a huge effect on her healing output, but let's find out. And then, Jetpack Cat. Lifeline comes pre-attached with a wrecking ball that can be used to slam into enemies. Ending Lifeline launches the ball at high speeds in the direction it is moving. Now it has a 12-second duration and the cooldown was increased to 6 seconds. Yeah, that is what we saw, and then I kind of theory-crafted around in that image. And I figured that it was like a team-up between the two, but it turns out, no, it's just Jetpack Cat always has a wrecking ball hanging. I don't know if there's even a hamster in there. It might even be one of Hammond's spare wrecking balls that she's using. And yeah, I'm still kind of curious to see what the impact is going to be on the environment. It's clearly not as big as I thought it was going to be, sadly. Juno. The Hyper Ring is now deployed sideways. Allies within the Hyper Ring can jump higher. Yeah, that is exactly like I predicted it. It's basically a jump pad. Kiriko. Wall climb. Kiriko can move along walls horizontally while wall climbing. After wall climbing, Kiriko can re-grab the wall without needing to touch the ground. I somehow feel like this is a test for a future hero, like a spider-like type of thing. That sounds like something you would give to a certain type of hero. Life Reaver. Life Reaver's skill has been reduced by 50%. His health was reduced from 200 to 75. His shields were reduced from 50 to 25. His life grip. Allies pulled by life grip get shrunk for 5 seconds after being pulled. Paddle platform. The paddle platform skill has been reduced by 50% and the health was reduced from 300 to 150. On top of that, the Tree of Life skill has been reduced by 50% and the health was reduced from 1200 to 600. Yeah, that is just completely obliterating Life Reaver. That is just, there's no way that you can use him. What are you going to do? Lucio. Successive jumps off of the floor increases Lucio's jump height by up to 5 times. Failing to chain the jumps together resets Lucio's jump height back to normal. When at maximum jump height, Lucio can land on the enemy's head, dealing damage and bouncing him back up. So Lucio goes all Super Mario. Anyways, Mercy. Guardian Angel can now target enemies. On top of that, Resurrect only targets enemies too. Using Resurrect on enemies deals damage while casting, ending in an explosion of damage when finished. Mercy heals for 50% of the damage dealt with Resurrect. The cooldown was reduced to 15 seconds. Okay, I don't play enough Mercy to kind of figure this out. I don't know what to think of this. Mizuki. Healing Casa has 3 charges. Mizuki now wears a hat for each charge of Healing Casa available. Healing Casa no longer returns to Mizuki, and while Mizuki has 1 or more charges of Healing Casa, he cannot be headshot. His Kashiro returns, Mizuki can teleport to his previous location 3 times per use. Yeah, that is going to be funny to watch. I'm very keen on testing this one. Moira. Biotic Orb now requires targeting to ally to cast. The Biotic Orb will attach itself to the targeted ally, moving around with them. The damage orb range is increased from 4 meters to 8 meters. Healing orb's range is increased from 5 meters to 10 meters. So instead of having a random orb bouncing around and randomly hitting targets, friendly or foe, you're going to have to attach it. The thing is, of course, you can only attach it to one person, but that orb is still going to kind of heal in a radius. So it's going to give you a little more control. It's going to kind of remove some of the randomness. I think this is a good change. It requires a little more skill to attach it, but the payout is going to be a lot bigger. Wuyang. Wuyang can charge up Guardian Wave, empowering its size, damage, healing, and knockback. Oh boy. And for the last one, Zenyatta. Orb of Destruction. Secondary Fire now has a 6-second cooldown. While charging Secondary Fire, orbs begin circling around Zenyatta, dealing damage and knocking back nearby enemies for up to 8 seconds. When releasing Secondary Fire, the orbs are shot all around Zenyatta rather than all straight forwards. Secondary Fire damage and knockback increases with each orb charged. Zenyatta moves 30% faster while charging Orbs of Destruction, and Zenyatta gains 15 overhealth for each stored orb. Instead of making it into that one shot that you kind of squeeze in there as much as possible, the headshot that support that is just coming out of spawn, this is going to be more of a defensive thing. If you're in the middle of an enemy team, you just kind of charge this thing up, and you just kind of go all explosive, and everybody is going to die, hopefully. Yeah, that was all of them. There definitely is some fun stuff in there. Definitely some things I want to give a try, like that melee Genji, the 3-hat Mizuki, the double stack of Torbjorn. And then on the other hand, there are a few heroes that are not going to get any playtime at all. That just got nerfed really hard, or basically unplayable. Like, sorry, but Life Reaver, I don't know what he did to deserve this. But I'm going to give all of them a try, right now on stream. But before I start my stream, tell me, which of these changes are you keen to test first? Let me know in the comments or come tell me during my streams over on twitch.tv/DeemziesTV. See you there. For now, however, that was it. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up. It always helps me out. I also want to thank my patrons and YouTube members. You too can become a member over on patreon.com/theomnicpost and right here on YouTube to unlock exclusive rewards. If you have a few minutes left, maybe check out one of my other videos. But above all, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Bye-bye.